come across the Bam Famalam on YouTube, then you're missing out. So, for those of you who haven't come across their videos, they're a British family who've moved to Australia. And they're just a very refreshing video to watch. Their content is great. This particular video that I'm going to look at is them having a look at things about Australia that they believe that Australia does better than anywhere else. I'm undecided as to whether they are correct about all of these things, but I think it makes us stop and reassess some of the things that we as Australians say are not so great, and think about them in terms of how they compare to other places in the world. We may not have it right here in Australia just yet, but perhaps we have it better with regards to some things than other countries do. So let's jump in and have a look at this video.
Ben,
Yes,
what should we do for a video this week?
I've been thinking about that. This should be what Australians do best.
And here are 7 of those things. Number 1 is the healthcare. I really can't think of anywhere else that does healthcare like Australia.
Recently, some friends of ours came over for a visit and they was astonished by how quick the medical system was. They even managed to get a same-day doctor appointment.
Okay, wow, you're kidding me about that, right? Here in Bendigo, you've got to plan to be sick about a week ahead of time. Basically, it takes about a week to get a doctor's appointment here in Bendigo. And it used to be very similar in Tasmania. You could never get a same-day doctor's appointment. So I'm curious, is there anyone out there who, with their particular doctor's surgery or in wherever they live, can actually get a same-day doctor's appointment? Because that's just unreal.
And then when she went to the appointment, she was in and out. She'd gone to her doctor's appointment, got a blood test next door, and got a prescription from the chemist, all within 20 minutes. She couldn't believe it. And to be honest, we've never seen a country that does it quite like that either.
Okay, I will say the medical centre that I use is a million times better than the one I used to go to in Tasmania, where you could be sitting there and waiting for up to an hour for your appointment. The one that I go to here in Bendigo actually has a policy that they have to get you in within half an hour of your appointment time. So that's pretty damn good. I've never experienced actually getting into the doctor, getting out, get my meds, and getting a blood test within 20 minutes. So I don't know where this miraculous doctor's surgery is, but it's definitely an outlier. It sounds great, and I'm so glad that they are telling people from other countries that that's what it's like here, but they got a good one.
Obviously, this is possibly not in every place in Australia, especially if you go rural, but certainly where we are, the majority of pathology places are pretty close to the doctors, and you can usually walk in. You know, there might be certain things that you can't just walk into, such as a CT scan, but the majority of testing you can get pretty quickly.
Okay, I will admit, when it comes to blood tests and x-rays and stuff, I've never not been able to get in on the same day and get everything done straight away. Here in Bendigo, you walk in and you barely have time to sit down before they're getting you in for your x-ray or your blood test or whatever. So I think they're right about that. I think the bottleneck is when it comes to going to GPs. For the most part, everyone I know has had the same experience. You can't usually get a same-day appointment, and in terms of getting in and getting out in 20 minutes, I've never experienced that. But like I said, maybe they're just in a really good location.
However Australia is managing this, they're doing it really well. I honestly can't think of another country where you get the kind of service and it's a public medical system. I mean, tell us if we're wrong, put it in the comments, we'd love to know, but we don't know of anywhere that does better healthcare than Australia on a public system.
Good on you, Australia.
I think what I would have liked to have heard here was actually them explaining what it is like in the UK. Perhaps there is an assumption that the majority of their viewers are from the UK and are therefore familiar with the medical system in the UK. But for those of us who don't know, it would have been interesting to hear how long it usually takes to get a doctor's appointment, how long you usually have to wait for at the surgery, and what is the process in terms of getting like blood tests or x-rays and stuff like that. So just an observation from an Australian perspective.
Number 2 is the pay. So Australians are paid incredibly well, and I know that a few of you have commented in the past that Australian prices are high and so it doesn't really make much difference, but actually
Australia pay a fair living wage.
I do think that after pay, Australians do have some money generally left over for lifestyle, and although you might not think it's a lot if you're from Australia, I feel that a lot of Australians get a better standard of living and lifestyle than in many other countries. I think Australia are doing it very well.
We certainly have good laws in place in terms of minimum wages, and I know that there are countries where your employer doesn't pay super for you. Like, you know, that's not considered part of your wage. That's separate and it doesn't show on your net income. So definitely there are some really positive things in Australia, and we certainly have higher wages in Australia. You hear about, for example, teachers in America. It is one of those professions that is apparently really, really poorly paid. And perhaps that is why their education system is in crisis, because they're not attracting the professionals that they could be attracting were they to have a better wage for teachers. That's just one example. But at the same time, I know we're in this huge cost of living crisis, and to many Australians, it certainly doesn't feel like we are doing so great. So I guess to hear a reminder of the things that we are doing well here in Australia is a good thing.
Number 3 is the coffee.
We don't even drink coffee, but even we know Australians do it best. It's brought into their lives quite an early age. I see a lot of school kids, like high school kids, they're actually drinking coffee already.
They actually sell it to them in the schools.
I think Australians would actually admit that they are coffee snobs.
If you're used to Australian coffee, then to go and drink coffee elsewhere, you'd probably turn your nose up. Even as non-coffee drinkers, we are well aware that the Australian coffee standards are high.
There's not a lot that you can say to that, really, is there? I mean, we have a reputation for being coffee snobs. We know how to make good coffee. But for those of you who have done quite a bit of overseas travel, leave a comment below and let me know, is Australian coffee the best you've had? Are there other countries that come close or beat us? What's your observation in terms of Australian coffee on the world stage?
Number 4 is Aussie friendliness and service. We are really impressed by it. So you go into somewhere and people are smiling, people are friendly, people welcome you, they want you to be there. I mean, obviously this isn't the case in every single place. You're always going to get a rogue employee somewhere, or owner somewhere, but as an overall general thing, we think that Australia does it best. We've not been anywhere friendlier. Probably the friendliest place we've ever been.
Something else that seems to be somewhat universally agreed upon. And yeah, we do have some horrid people in the service industry. Anywhere you go, any country, any state in Australia, there's going to be the outliers, the people where you come away and you think, well, you were really nasty. But the thing is, in Australia, people don't take that sort of thing well. So if you go to a place where there is a nasty staff member, you may not go back there. Whereas in other countries, it is accepted. They're just about to tell us an exception to that rule, and I'm not sure what I think about that. But I have to say, before they get on to that, it is so good to hear them saying this after that video that I looked at the other day, where it was that AI created video by someone supposedly in America going on about all the rude people in Australia, essentially, you know, the 5 rudest states in Australia, and really taking a negative stance. So a huge thank you to the Bam Famalam channel for pointing out what we already know, but which we really needed pointed out right now.
But there is one cafe which is very famous to be very rude in Brisbane.
Oh, is that in Brisbane?
It's in one of the Westfields.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. I actually saw someone took their
Do you want to say the name of it?
granddad.
I can't think. It's
I don't know the name of it.
Karen's Restaurant.
That's it.
You've got to be a Karen. When you go there, they just insult you constantly and try and throw you out, give you really bad service, but it's part of the theme.
Yeah.
It's a Karen.
And people take their family members there and record it for a giggle.
Okay, so I'm sure there are people who find that kind of thing amusing, but I would never set foot in a place like that. I am far too sensitive to that kind of negativity that even if I were going there knowing that it was all in fun, I wouldn't enjoy it for one moment. So it's a novel concept, but yeah, not my kind of thing.
Number 5 is that so many areas here get to retain their identity. Everywhere is not the same in Australia, and all of these individual towns and individual beautiful suburbs, they've all got their own personality. Even the different cities, it's not like it's all just become the same. I think where a lot of places in the world have got more built up, they've lost a lot of that character and charm because everything's become a bit samey, whereas Australia's really managed to retain it in many of their towns. Even the various cities within Australia, they've all retained a character of their own, and there's a big difference between every city within Australia.
You know, I'd never really thought about that, but when you look at the heritage listings that we have here in Australia, and so many councils have regulations as to what kind of buildings can go in an area, we have managed to have all these unique little bubbles within Australia of places that do have their own unique charm. So yeah, it's not something I'd actually considered before, but it is so true.
Anywho, so that makes Australia really special because, as we've said in previous videos, you can go to all these different places and you're going to have a different experience everywhere you go because they've kept their identity.
So number 6 is the artisan culture. Australians love beautiful handmade crafts, and Over here, they're very, very good at it.
And the great thing is about these, the artisan culture here, is that it is supported by all of these markets that we have. So it's a perfect environment for artisans to thrive.
Okay, let's discuss that a little bit more. It has traditionally been a perfect environment for artisans. And there are so many craft markets all over the place. In Victoria, there's actually a website you can look on that has a list of craft markets all around Victoria and the dates when they're on. But here's the thing. This is coming from an artist who has done markets and stuff. The moment, with the cost of living crisis, you go to a market and you sit there and you watch people walk by for most of the time that you're there. The markets haven't acknowledged that basically people are making a fraction of the money on their stalls that they were a few years ago, and have in fact become more expensive. So that for many people, it's just not viable to do markets at the moment. I've actually packed away the majority of my stock, and I haven't done anything for a few months now, because people just cannot afford to buy things other than necessities at the moment. So craft markets at the moment are not faring well, and artists aren't faring well. So on the surface it looks great, but if you go to, next time you go to a craft market or a produce market, as you're strolling around, just have a really good look and take note of how many people are actually carrying things that they've bought, or how many people are buying things at the stalls around where you're at. Because the market for craft markets, produce markets, etc., is really low at the moment. Sure, there'll always be a market for good quality homegrown fruit and veg, but in terms of luxury items, not so much. So I hope that things do improve for our economy, because otherwise we may see these wonderful craft markets and stuff become a thing of the past. And when things do improve, there may be no one there to organise them anymore. And I will say, for those people who do organise craft markets or markets of any sort, it may be a good time, instead of looking at the diminishing number of stall holders and deciding that you need to put prices up to cover that, you may want to consider actually dropping prices for stall holders, because you will find there'll be more people who can afford to have stalls, and people will be able to charge decent prices for their produce. I know I'm probably one of the exceptions in terms of I refuse to charge exorbitant prices for any of my creations, because I want them to be available for everyone. But at the same time, when your sales have fallen to less than half of what they used to be, store prices have gone up, and fewer people are buying, where's the future in that? So please forgive me for my little rant there, but it is a great thing, these makers markets and stuff, but they are something that may end up becoming a thing of the past. Here's a suggestion. If you're still looking for Christmas presents, you may want to treat yourself to a day out, go check out a maker's market somewhere, or even a produce market, and you may find some really nice Christmas presents for people that are unique and that are supporting locals.
Number 7.
We counted.
I missed my fingers. Number 7 is that the Australians have the chance to kickstart themselves financially. So one of the incredible things here is that there are jobs that you can go to. So either FIFO, which is like fly in, fly out, or you can go and work in the middle of nowhere and you get paid a really high wage. That might not be something you can continue long term, but it gives a lot of young people a kickstart to getting a deposit together for a house, or anything that you need, the money for. You get that chance to do it. And as I said, it's not something that everybody can do long term, and certainly maybe not when you've got a family. Some people do, but it's a great opportunity for people to kickstart their savings and their finances.
Yes, but can we acknowledge here that there is a huge gender bias when it comes to that? Most of these things that you can, do and get a bucket load of money from are male-dominated industries. It's the mining industry, or you can go to places, regional places, and get paid extra for going there because they need tradesmen or something. Not so much. And I'm not saying women can't be tradesmen and women can't work in the mining industry, but traditionally they are male-dominated industries. So the opportunities are way greater for men than they are for women. I'll just put that out there. If you are someone who has chosen to go through an academic pathway and you've gone through and put yourself through university, there aren't so many of those opportunities to kickstart your finances. It's actually the opposite. Quite often you end up on a rather piddly income for the first few years that you're working in your profession. And it takes a number of years before your income increases to the point where you can start to move forward financially. And traditionally, you do have that disparity where you have a lot of females going in and doing all that academic university degree stuff, and then a lot of males doing trades and stuff like that. So I just thought it was worth noting that gender bias. I'm not saying it's right across the board. I'm not saying it's exclusive, but overall, that's what you see.
I know a lot of guys that have started their careers out going to the mine. While they're away working, then they're just putting that money away because the mines are actually paying for all their food and lodgings. So they're just putting money away constantly, and like Maz said, they get paid a decent wage. Sometimes you don't even have to have experience in what you're doing.
It might even be that you're a cook or a chef, and and again they pay you good rates because you're having to work in the middle of nowhere. And it doesn't matter what your background is, where you come from. Every Australian has that opportunity to get out and really kickstart themselves financially.
Okay, I have to disagree with that. It is not every Australian. It is only people who have an aptitude for working in certain industries. That's not every Australian. For a lot of Australians, that option just isn't there. There is also a bloopers section at the end of their video. I'm not going to worry about playing that. So if you want to go and check that out for yourselves, you can. If you like their channel, hop over and subscribe. Even if you click on this video and click like, send them a bit of love there. I certainly enjoyed their video. I think I love their positive attitude. And there was only a few things that I kind of disagreed with. And perhaps that's me just being a cynic, or perhaps it's because I have got a little bit more time under my belt in terms of being an Australian. But I do love their positive attitude and their whole outlook that they put out on this video. So I really enjoyed this video. So as per usual, I'll leave the link for the original video down below in the description section for this video, so that you can hop across and check out their channel, check out their other videos, even if you want to watch the rest of this video or want to watch it uninterrupted. That option is there for you. So thanks for listening. If you're new to my channel, please do subscribe. Also, please hit the like button and please leave a comment below. And I'll catch you on the next one.